Have you ever wanted to say one sentence so sharp that the other person immediately falls silent? No need to shout, no need to insult, no need to lose your temper. Just one short line used at the right moment with the right force, and suddenly they lower their voice, pause, and realize you are not someone who can be easily pushed around. Because in many confrontations, the winner is not the loudest person. The winner is the one who stays in control of themselves the longest. In this video, you will learn 5 extremely effective comeback lines to protect yourself when someone tries to dominate you, insult you, interrupt you, or manipulate you. These are not just lines to help you save face. These are lines that help you reclaim your power calmly, hold your boundary without starting a war, and make other people look at you differently. Because real strength is not in crushing somebody else. It is in speaking less, speaking right, and refusing to let their emotions control you. Pay very close attention to the third line. Used at the right time, it can completely diffuse a confrontation, stop manipulation in its tracks, and reset the standard of communication instantly. Everyone has been in that situation. You are saying something completely reasonable. You are trying to stay calm, but the other person does not want to listen. They interrupt, raise their voice, mock you, or try to push you into an emotional reaction. And what is the most irritating part? Not that they are right, but that they create the impression that they are winning simply because they are more aggressive. Many people lose their ground not because they lack logic. They lose because they get pulled into the other person's rhythm and drop their calm exactly when they need it most. Speaking loudly is not power. Dominating others is not strength. Making people fear you does not mean they respect you. Real power is when you are provoked and still remain clear, insulted and still remain steady, pushed into a weak position and still able to keep your inner spine intact. The Stoics understood this very well. Self-control is strength. The one who controls themselves is the one who controls the situation. Calmness does not make you weak. It makes manipulators lose their grip. 1. I don't need to raise my voice to be right. This is the first line, and also one of the cleanest ways to reclaim your position. You use this when the other person starts speaking louder, interrupting, or acting as if a bigger volume makes them more correct. It may be in a meeting, a family argument, or any situation where the other person is trying to use tone and pressure to control the atmosphere. Why is this line effective? Because it removes you from the emotional battlefield. When the other person is expecting you to get heated so they can drag you into a noisy fight, this line immediately changes the rules. It sends a very clear message: I am not going to play your game. And when you refuse to play by their rhythm, they lose their advantage. Psychologically, people who raise their voice often depend on your reaction to feel powerful. But when you stay calm and respond with one simple line like this, you force them to face an uncomfortable truth. They are losing control, and you are not. A practical example. In a meeting, someone cuts you off and starts talking louder to overpower the room. Instead of arguing back, you look at them and say calmly, I don't need to raise my voice to be right. The whole room will immediately feel who is actually holding the stronger position. The deeper principle here is self-control. The person who controls their voice is the person who is not easily dragged around by somebody else's anger. Calmness, when used correctly, always carries more weight than noise. 2. The way you are speaking says more about you than it does about me. This is the line that reflects the other person's behavior back to them without lowering yourself to their level. You use this when you're being mocked, belittled, treated with contempt, or attacked through a toxic tone. This is exactly the kind of situation that makes people want to strike back immediately. But the more emotionally you react, the more you get pulled down to their level. This line works because it is like a mirror. It does not insult. It does not beg to be understood. It does not try to over-explain. It simply reflects a truth. The way a person speaks reveals their character, not your worth. Psychologically, this creates a pause. The other person expects you to get hurt, angry, or defensive. But when you do none of that and simply place the mirror in front of them, they suddenly begin to hear their own tone. And in that moment, their poison loses its effect. Example: somebody says to you in a dismissive tone, "Someone like you knows nothing." Instead of reacting with anger, you simply look at them and say, "The way you are speaking says more about you than it does about me." The line is not loud, but it reverses the power. The attacker suddenly becomes the one being exposed. The deeper principle here is dignity. A person with dignity does not need to perform superiority. They simply refuse to let somebody else's attitude define them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the best revenge is not to become like the other person, and this line carries exactly that spirit. 3. We can continue this conversation when we can speak to each other respectfully. This is the strongest line out of all 5, and it is also the clearest one for stopping manipulation and setting a standard. You use this when the conversation is no longer a conversation. It has become an attack disguised as discussion. The other person is interrupting constantly, imposing, raising their voice, twisting your words, or trying to pressure you into reacting. This line works because it shifts the focus. It is no longer about who is right or wrong. It returns to something more basic, the minimum condition required for this conversation to be worth continuing at all. You are not avoiding the issue. You are raising the standard. Psychologically, this is a powerful reset. Manipulators only win when you stay inside the toxic communication frame they have created. But when you clearly state the standard, you take the control back. You are telling them, access to me is not unconditional. Example: somebody keeps interrupting, distorting your words, and pushing you into a corner. You stop, breathe slowly, and say, "We can continue this conversation when we can speak to each other respectfully." If they continue being aggressive, they expose themselves. If they quiet down, you have already won without needing to fight. The deeper principle here is boundaries. Boundaries are not for attacking people. Boundaries are for keeping your own mind clean. Anyone who cannot speak to you with respect is not yet deserving of more of your time. Before, I do not want to continue this conversation. This is the line for the moment you need to leave a toxic exchange while keeping your power fully intact. You use it when everything is already clear. The other person does not want to understand, does not want to listen, and does not want a real conversation. They only want to win, provoke, or exhaust you. This is where many people make the mistake of staying, trying to explain everything properly. But some conversations only become more expensive the longer you stay in them. This line works because it is firm without becoming dramatic. It does not ask for permission. It does not offer a long explanation. It does not open the door to more argument. It simply closes the door. And sometimes closing the door at the right time is the strongest act of self-respect. Psychologically, when you refuse to continue, you cut off the fuel the conflict is feeding on. People who thrive on hostility need you to stay. When you leave the game, they lose the stage. Example: someone keeps throwing harsh words just to drag you into a fight. You can feel yourself becoming tired, heated, and drained. You look at them and say, "I do not want to continue this conversation," and then you stop there. No extra speech, no unnecessary explanation. The deeper principle here is emotional independence. Not every confrontation deserves your continued presence. Leaving is not weakness. Very often, it is the way you keep yourself from being stained by a battle that was never worthy of you. 5. That is your opinion. I respect that, but I do not agree. This final line helps you keep your position without creating a war. You use it when the other person is not exactly an enemy, but they are trying to impose their view on you. It may be a relative, a boss, a colleague, or somebody who believes they have the right to decide how you should think, live, or choose. This line works because it is both soft and strong. Soft because you are not denying their right to have an opinion. Strong because you are not surrendering your own position just to keep the surface peaceful. Psychologically, this kind of response is hard to attack. Because you are not insulting them. You are not dismissing them. You are simply making one thing clear. I have my own mind and you do not get to occupy it. That is what a person looks like when they no longer depend on everybody else's agreement. Example: a family member tries to pressure you into following the path they think is correct. They speak a lot, with certainty and pressure. You do not argue point by point. You simply say, "That is your opinion, I respect that, but I do not agree." That line closes the door to manipulation while keeping your maturity intact. The deeper principle here is presence. A person with strong presence does not need to win every argument. They only need to remain steady inside the pressure. Self-command in thought creates a much deeper kind of respect than constantly trying to please everyone. Remember this clearly. The sharpest sentence is not always the strongest sentence. The strongest sentence is the one that helps you keep yourself, keep your boundary, and keep your dignity while someone else is trying to drag you down. These 5 lines are not for humiliating anyone. They are tools to protect your calm, protect your inner authority, and remind people that you are not easy to manipulate. Which one of these 5 lines would you want to use first? Comment 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And if you like this kind of Stoic content, sharp, deep, powerful, yet very calm, then like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together.